Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, back today with my Get Creeping on Halloween make for July 2023, Otis's Broom Ride. So, I'm going to be honest, I had a really hard time sitting down and doing a Halloween make this month. I think my mind was like in 5,000 different directions. I had 30 different ideas that I wanted to do, and then I didn't want to do any of them because I just couldn't settle on anything. And so it's July 26th, and I'm only getting around to making it. And so I knew I had to just make it and get it over with. It was not what I was planning on doing. So I went through my die cuts. I decided I didn't want to color anything. I wanted to just ink blend. And so I went through my die cuts, picked out Otis. I bought him on clearance last year. I had yet to use him, so this is the first time I'm using Otis. And I pulled out my other Tim Holtz Halloween dies. I love Tim's Halloween stuff. I am trying not to buy any new Tim Halloween stuff. I love you, Tim, but I don't have room for more. So this was what I ended up. I decided Otis and the witch's hat and the witch's broom, and that was it. Just kind of snowballed from there. It did. It just kind of snowballed from there. You saw me re-ink my black there. It was dry the last time I used it, and so I knew I needed a fresh re-inking on my black before I started. So I did that first, and that way it could sit and soak in while I was working on the rest. Now, being this is the first time I've done Otis, I haven't watched a video on any of this. I'm just, free creating, I guess you could say. So I realized that back panel really should have been darker. I know it's gray or black on... I lost the actual dye for it when I was coloring, and so I was like, I don't know what the original color was supposed to be, and so I do come back in with a darker green to do this. I will list all of my colors that I use below. I did remember to take a picture of all of them so I could remember exactly which ones I used. So the darkest green that I used was Forest Moss. I think I did peeled paint and then shabby shutter. No, I didn't use peeled paint. Shabby shutter and old paper. So old paper was my darker shade, or the shade that I'd colored on top of that Forest Moss one. And then shabby shutter for the next one. And the shabby shutter was like really bright, at least on screen it is, and I didn't realize it was as bright as it was. But anyways, and then I'm bringing in the other piece here, and I'm going to turn it into a little bit of yellow. So my theory on, or my thought process on my moon coloring was, because I was putting the witch's hat on it and I was going to use the witch's broom, I really kind of wanted to have a witch vibe to it, and that's where that green came in. Now, you see me struggling with this one here. It probably should have gotten cut with the precision plate on my die cut machine. I probably futzed around to get all of those pieces out for a half an hour. I should have just ran to the die cut machine, ran that one die through again with the precision cut, and it would have saved me time in the end. It's what I get for trying to not take more time. It ended up taking more time. Now, Otis is a colorized die, and it's actually the first colorized die that I've actually put together. He was really easy to put together ultimately once I had it all laid out, once I figured it all out. I might have missed a tongue there. I'm really not sure. I might have cut it twice, but I don't know how I would have cut it twice. I didn't use it because I don't think I needed it. Anyways, so my other items, like the witch's hat, the witch's broom, are not colorized dies. So I cut out extra of them so I could make them colorized dies, if that makes sense. Now, I could have used the dies and like shifted it over so it would have had like a whatever. I just ended up freehanding it with my scissors later on. So for my black, I did work it in with, I think it's the Tim Holtz scraper tool, and just worked it in there, and then of course I used my brush to pick up the excess and all of that. So the bats, I decided to do green on top, only because I didn't want them to be you know, I don't have a medium gray, and I wanted them to have a different color variation, and this way they kind of go with Otis a little bit. And then I did go back over them with a black, so they're kind of a greenish gray, I guess you could say. And then I realized I was missing the hat band for the hat, so I'm just going to ink up a little piece there, and then I will cut that off later on. So I'm going to bring in my splat box here, and I realized that I'm not going to get all of them to fit in there properly. And really, I decided I just wanted to spritz or spray to give a little bit of texture onto my inked pieces. But Otis needs some, you know, some sparkle. He's the moon, right? And he's magically gonna, you know, do his witch thing. So I did come in with some Brutus Monroe Aqua pigments in Pearl to give him a little bit of speckly shimmer and shine. Now for the background panel, do you notice everything started as white today? Yes, I started the background panel in white. Usually if I'm going to do this heavy of an inking, I usually start with the blue, but I decided I just wanted to ink today. I did use some, I'm trying to think what I used for my, I think the other ones were just Accent Opaque 120 pounds. They are heavyweight cardstock. For my actual backdrop here, I am using Bristol Smooth cardstock. I wanted it to be super heavy because I kind of had an inkling that I really, really wanted to do some lights. Now, you know, by the time I got to this point, and I was like, I really liked Otis and how he looked. I really didn't think I needed the lights, but it was like a, you know, fight with myself on this one. To not to or to not. And once I've laid, so I actually, it took half an hour to do all my ink blending. The camera cut off. I thought I missed ink blending, but I didn't. You're lucky. So I did also splatter the background here, as you will see me doing. And so I really fought with myself about doing or not doing the lights. It takes time. Although I, you know, was lucky and had a piece already prepped. So you don't actually get to see me making the light things today. So I did decide that Otis's back piece needed to be just a little bit darker to get that, you know, for the eyes and then all of the things, right? And so I did darken him up a little bit. So as I put together Otis for my very first time, he was very easy to put together. All of them were, or all of it was for the most part, just putting pieces together. I did, you know, a little bit of extra work with my fussy cutting to make my other items colorized, I guess. Other than that, it was fairly simple, straightforward. So let me tell you about Get Creepy on Halloween. It is a hashtag driven, I guess, make or challenge. I challenged myself last year in October at Halloween time to make a make every month for the last day of the month. So they go live on my YouTube channel at 12 midnight, the last day of the month. And it's just, to me, Halloween is about exploring my creativity. I give myself a little bit more room to just play with things. Not that I don't normally, but I think I just feel freer to play with things. Because if, you know, it's ooky and creepy and it doesn't turn out, it's fine because it's Halloween. It's not supposed to be perfect. And so, I don't know. It just kind of, to me, it unleashes my creativity and it really helps to keep that creative juice flowing. This month I struggled. Yes, I told you that from the get-go. I struggled with what I wanted to make. I was really going to just do a super simple card for Halloween for July. Last year I started my first Halloween make on August 1st, and so I will probably be picking up my Halloween makes from here on out. I'm going to try not to buy any new Halloween stuff this year. I just have so much Halloween stuff, I really don't need any more Halloween stuff. And so you saw, I'm going to go back to my card. That's, you know, that's anyone is allowed to follow the hashtag Get Creeping on Halloween here or on Instagram. Follow along, post a video with that hashtag. I would love to creep on your creep too. I love watching Halloween stuff come together. So if you want to participate in that hashtag, have at it. Please tag at InkyandScrappy so I can see them. I don't always get to it the last day of the month, but I do definitely go check them out when I have time the following week. So back to the card. It really was just me making my non-colorized dies colorized so they looked similar to Otis. I didn't want them to be a stark difference from Otis. So, you know, making the hat, doing the little shift thing on the hat, where I could have used the actual die cut for that one to give an actual, you know, if you wanted that line, or to give you a better shadow line. And I wasn't too picky. I just kind of, you know, winged it. So I wasn't overly concerned with the end result on that one when I was cutting, because I knew it was going to have enough. It was going to be enough to give me that colorized look without doing a whole lot of other things. And I do get off camera for a little bit here. I don't know, maybe I'm getting old and I need readers. They're really tiny pieces. So trying to get them to cut and to be exactly where I wanted the cuts was a little bit tricky for some of those teeny tiny parts, but I got them done. Now, for my broomstick handle there, I had cut and colored a second one, right? And so I didn't really need that second one, but I'd already inked it, which was good because I ended up using it. So when I put him on Otis here, I'm like, it's just not long enough. So I extended that broom handle a little bit, and I was like, this is awesome. It worked perfectly. So, you know, sometimes having extras helps. And so I'm just kind of playing around with what I want, where I want. And at this point, I was not going to go with a light up. It was not in the works. This was going to be a simple card front. I was not going to put a sentiment on it. And I was like, you know, there's this really cute trail from the Dash Away. I think it's Dash Away Owl, which was a Simon Says Stamp freebie 2 years ago, I think. I love that trail. I think Tim Holtz actually has some Star Trails dies similar to this one. I don't know if they're the exact same size, but I know he has like the circle, like the scrolly ones, which I do need those because those ones are absolutely gorgeous and I would use them for other things. But I have this one, so I was like, this one will just, I was like, oh, it'll look so pretty with, you know, Otis flying across the sky. It kind of gives it that magic feel that it just, you know, it just needed. So here's me with my already pre-done. So I do most of my own lights for cards just because I'm cheap. I really mean that in just because I have a really hard time spending $5 a pop for two single lights. Like, I have no problem buying the light strands, and I would, you know, the Pear Blossom Press has amazing lights. So go ahead and use those. You know, if you're, you know, I like to me, it's like figuring out the electrical stuff. I love that part. That's me. So I'm just going in here. I'm kind of working with my already done one. So I had done these back. I think I might even have footage of how I put this one together. And if I can find that footage, I will definitely post it for tomorrow, for August 1st. I think I might have it. I will look and see. But I bought all the components on Amazon. They're pretty easy to put together. They take a little bit of time and a little bit of work, but I think I had two of them ready to go because I had a card that I wanted to make, and obviously I didn't get around to it, so it was sitting there. So that's what I used for this one. You could use Chobitronics. Pear Blossom Press has some awesome stuff. I'm trying to think of the other one. There's another one too. Leap. I think it's Leap something. I don't know. But I do most of my own just because I like playing with that stuff. So I'm using some, I want to say, the big, thick, wide stuff here I got off of Amazon. It's the same height and thickness, or like same thickness as Hefty Doodles foam tape. 2 layers is what I ended up using to get enough lift for that switch, for the battery and the switch. And then I'm just kind of cutting around because I want to make sure that I'm not going to be blocking any of those stars. So just kind of selectively cutting and doing my thing, making that little well to kind of keep that light in place there. And at this point, I was still planning on putting it on a card. I know. And so I was ecstatic that it was looking like it was supposed to be looking. Just trimming off a little bit of that foam tape that was kind of off onto the side. And now I get to like decorate and put Otis on there and try to figure out layout and all of those things. So once I kind of have, and Otis is super thick. It kind of, I struggled a little bit. I'm not going to lie, getting that witch's hat to be thick enough so that when he's on the front here, or the panel, I would say card front, when he is on this panel, that it's not going to be totally like falling off. Like, it did not want to stay on there. It was, I struggle bust it. And so I'm just working with the layers, using the scraps that I had from like Otis's eyes, whatever I could find that was laying on my desk. My desk is horrible at this point in time. I've cleaned most of it since, you know, as I was waiting for things to dry today. But as I was doing this part, I had stuff all over. So I was like just grabbing whatever I could find to build up that hat a little bit. I'm fine with the tippy top of the hat going down. It kind of adds a little bit of dimension. And then I'm just going to strategically place my 3 stars here because I like to work in 3s. And then I'm going to put the bats. I'm only going to put a little bit of glue on their body so their wings are movable or flappy. Because let's be honest, this card is super thick. It's not going in the mail. It's going to be a hand-delivered jobber, if at all, right? And that was when I decided, you know what? I'm not making this into a card. I am making it into a panel. So I have some bought-in boxes. These ones are, I think it's a 6x6 panel box. I picked them up at Crafts Direct locally. I would imagine Joann's, Michael's probably has something like this in their wood. I don't know. I find it in their wood section at Crafts Direct. So like they're ready to be painted, colored, and made things. So these ones are 6x6. The other option I had is I take 5x7. Yeah. It was wonderful. So anyways, I take 6 by, a 2x4, no, 2x6, and I cut them down into 5x7 panels, or the like, it's not really a 5x7, it's a little bit different, but I cut them down when we have scraps in the shop, and I saved those 2. I didn't have one that was perfectly right sized, and I didn't want to go and cut because I was being lazy. So anyways, I painted that with some black ink, some black acrylic paint, and then of course you saw my blender with the purple acrylic paint. It was 20 years old. Almost 20. Yeah, I was pregnant with Jason when I used that one because I used it for painting a mural. Anyways, so aside from that, and I did get, you know, it all cleaned up. It was, oh, yeah. And then I did come in with a little bit of light blue just to add a little bit. So it gets that streaky kind of, I don't know, Milky Way vibe to it. That was what I was looking for. Anyways, you won't see most of it because most of it's going to be colored. And then I decided I needed, because my panel was 6x6 and my card front was not 6x6 because I was planning on an A2 size card. I have this side space on the side. So I went through my stamp sets, and I have the Broom stamp set from Colorado Craft Company. And so I loved the little, if the broom fits, ride it sentiment on that one. And so that's where I just wanted a big board on the side. And so when I saw that one, I was like, oh, that is perfect for Otis flying across the sky on a broom. So if the broom fits, write it. So I did the same thing with my letters for Broom as I did for my broom. So I colored with, I want to say my darkest shade is Fossilized Amber, my lighter shade is Antique Linen, and then I just cut extras and then did the little cuts to make them look like they go with that colorized die series. And then it ties into the rest of my panel. I did also do 2 thick layers beneath them, so they ended up being 4 layers in spots. I did not do that with my words. I did cut them out with the littler ones were with Avery L's sentiment strips, and the Write It one ended up being a Trinity Stamps A2 size modern embossed. It's like the smallest one in that set is what I ended up using, and then shifting them all over and die cutting them again. I am coming in, so this is the other stamp that is with that one. And so I wanted just that bottom part, but just because of how the text is on that one, I couldn't get it exactly how I wanted it. So I just ended up just doing some, selective stamping, inking. It worked. I loved just that kind of collage-y feel to it. It just adds something to the side. So when this one hangs on the wall, you can see the little side stuff. I love the sentiment on this one, even if it really doesn't say Otis is flying through the sky. It's still cute. So now I just need to figure out what side I want my stuff to be on. I, picked the right side right away, right? But, I have to go all the way around to make sure. I think I might pull it all off and make sure. And so here's a hot tip. If you decide to make your card front into a panel, you might want to color your foam before you put it down. Now, when I glued this one down, I did not add glue to the side that is by my switch there. Why didn't I do that? Because if I ever need to change the battery or feel like I want to change the battery, I should be able to lift it up just enough to pop out the battery and pop in a new one and not ruin the panel. That was my theory behind not putting glue on that upper corner, if you're wondering. That's how I will do the battery. So I'm just going to put these down here. A little line. And then leaving that, I decided the fits, I wanted a little bit more space between it and the Write It because it has the little ellipsis. And then, of course, I saved my little pop-outs of those stars. So I'm taking the biggest ones and kind of adding them around the broom on this one. And off camera, I do some more with the scrap that I cut around. So I ended up cutting down, because my panel was bigger than it needed to be, so I ended up cutting it down to A2 size. And so I had a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. Yeah, and see, when I did that, I was like, oh, it's really stark white. It really sticks out. So I came in with my Copic black one, and I was going around, and I was being super careful here not to get black on everything else. Which probably wouldn't have really mattered because the side of my images were, dark black anyways. And then I got to that corner and I wasn't paying attention because I was like, ooh, I'm almost done, and I got black on there. So I tried covering it with some white. I tried letting this dry a little bit and coming in with some of that fossilized amber on top of it. I was unimpressed with myself. And then I was like, just let it go. Just let it go. So I brought in the glitter and I tried covering it up with glitter. And then, of course, because I had the glitter out, then we have to glitter all the other things because, I need it to blend, right? Well, it didn't blend. But anyways, I had the glitter out. I was doing all the glittering. So I kind of added my highlights, I guess you could say, with the glitter. So if you're going to do some white highlights, I just did it with glitter. I did zhuzh those bat wings a little bit. It's got to be flapping in the breeze. Put a little bit on Otis, a little bit on the broom. And, oh look, it made that black mark on the bottom stick out more. So I did adjust. I did go in and die cut some more of those little stars with the scrap from that back round panel, because I did end up cutting that one with the Trinity Stamps Modern Embossed A2 stack, the largest one, before, you know, I got this far. Anyways, so I did have that little scrap, and so I did die cut some more of it, and then added some more stars throughout to make, you know, the whole sentiment kind of go with it, so you didn't realize that I messed up on that corner. I know it, you know it, but when you look at it now, you really can't see it. It's well hidden beneath a very pretty purplish black star. And that is why I do my Get Creeping on Halloween. I hope you join me for it. See, it turned out amazing. I was worried about nothing. Yeah. I will be back with you soon with some more Halloween makes as we get closer to Halloween. Keep getting inky. Thanks for watching. Bye!